Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting, LLC, for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. All right, everybody, welcome. Episode 46 with Mr. Ed King. Ed, how are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you, Corbett? I'm here.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming. This is definitely the quickest that I've met somebody and got them on the podcast. I think I met you.
It's a record.
4 days ago.
Well, actually, I did do some research on you.
Okay,
I didn't want you to be one of these guys who lure old people to their house and then cuts them up and feeds them to the chickens, you know.
Yeah, luckily you do some research. You can see there's a couple podcasts that are real.
Citizen, member of the community.
Eagle Scout shows up,
Eagle
hopefully.
Scout.
Yeah. You found that online?
I did, yeah.
Oh, wow. There you go. Yeah, it was in the paper in my hometown.
It's, I don't know where it was, somewhere.
Google is the best.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah.
I think it was on, what's that business thing?
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, yeah.
Yep, I do have a LinkedIn account.
Talked about your Eagle Scout thing.
Yeah, well, that was the highlight of my life at that moment in time. I could tell you that for sure.
It wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
Maybe 10 years ago?
Well, let's see. I'm 33, and I was 17 when that happened. So
yesterday.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's not, again, at 17, that was the biggest thing that had happened at that time.
Oh, of course.
You know?
It's big, though. It's big.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a huge thing.
100% got me into college.
Okay, I'll be the interviewer for now, okay?
Let's do it.
What was your Eagle project?
So there is a company still in existence today, pretty well known actually, called The Walkway Over the Hudson. Anybody listening, walkway.org. It is an organization. It's a nonprofit, 501c, that took a abandoned Civil War railroad bridge across the Mid-Hudson River in Highland, New York, where I'm from, and converted it into the largest single walkway, I think, in America. And it connects
It's a walkway over the Hudson River?
Yeah, and it connects rail trails on both sides of the river.
Okay.
So you can now bike continuously for 80 plus miles all over the Hudson Valley and Catskill Mountain region with that bridge connecting multiple rail trails.
Okay.
And before it was open on the Highland side of the river, I'm from Highland, New York, there's a little baby park next to the bridge that cars go over that looked at this abandoned bridge. And I made 3
steel information kiosks with custom 4-foot by 3-foot signs, placards, whatever you want to call them. One with a huge map, one with information about the bridge, one with information about the walkway, and on, beautiful steel stands that were custom made, cemented in the ground, beautiful shrubbery and whatnot, with the Fleur-de-Lis logo for Scouts, and that was my project. And then the walkway got completed, and luckily by the chance of fate, my dad is still on the board, and he then almost like very recently, but just more than a decade after my project, he got the boards updated with new information, like modern information, because they were building it. It wasn't open when I did we were raising awareness, trying to raise funds. Yeah. Then the Dyson Foundation wrote like $100 million check, and it got done. Yeah. And it is open, and it's incredible. And they do.
Your project is still in operation there.
Yeah, my project is very much in a park on the Highland side that looks at the bridge, but the placards have been changed. Yeah. But it still says on the bottom corner, donated by Corbett Storick, Eagle Project, Highland Troop 70. So like my name is still on it. Yeah, it's pretty. It was pretty cool. It was the first time I've welded. It was the first real. I mean, the point of the Eagle Project is, as a kid, you got to be an adult and be the project manager. You're not allowed to do the work. Right. Which, as a big dude, I was like, let's just grab the shovel, and you got to be like, no. Yeah. You got to point at that guy and tell him to grab the shovel. Right. That's like the whole point. Yeah. But it was. I hope every other Eagle Scout in the world says the same thing. It does change your life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Were you in Scouts?
I was a Scoutmaster.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, dude, were you an Eagle Scout before you became a Scout?
No. I was in Scout for about 5 minutes. I think I made tenderfoot. I'm not sure. Okay. But it wasn't my fault. It was a lot of complicated things that moved me on from Scouts, but then I got recruited as an adult, as a leader, and then I became a Scoutmaster. I was a Scoutmaster for about 5 years.
That's very cool. Do you have children that were in Scouting? Is that why you were a Scoutmaster? Because my Scoutmaster was always like, his kid was in the troop.
They were both in Cub Scouts, but they never really progressed into Scouts, no.
My favorite part of Cub Scouts was the Pinewood Derby, where we carved the cars.
Yeah. Yep.
I still have like one or two of them in this house somewhere.
Yeah. We actually, I think we won. What did wow. The Pinewood Derby is interesting because you got some dads who are like, want to show off how good they can make a Pinewood Derby car, and they like leave the kid out of it.
Yes.
Well, I didn't do that with my son because, number one, because I don't have those kind of skills. So we made this car. He made most of it. And then we painted it. I remember it was like tiger stripes around it.
Awesome.
And I think we won like the design part of it.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
But it was a funky looking car, but it actually ran pretty good.
There was always like inside the Troop 70, we were in the larger umbrella called Rip Van Winkle Council, and there was always a dude who ran something bigger in the council office who would come to the Pinewood Derby to be like the one who would officially clock the times and stuff. Yeah. And nobody could beat his car. He had the fastest car. That was like the real test. Was not who won up against the Scouts, but who could beat that adult's car. And no one ever won. I mean, my brother is 4 years older than me, so between the two of us in the same troop, a lot of Scouts, a lot of Pinewood Derbies, no one ever came close to beating this guy. Yeah.
How did that happen? That doesn't seem right.
I mean, if you won against the kids, you still won and got first place and got the ribbon. Yeah. But it was like an unofficial, can you beat Mr. Whatever's car? And nobody could ever beat it. Yeah. But it was
you get those guys in Scouts that are like that.
I got to admit, my dad, Drew, was right in the middle of that line, respectfully. He definitely had some more woodworking skill than me as a child, but he was like, how do you want to shape it? Do you want it to be this? Yeah. Like, he would stand over me and hold the block at the same time while we pushed it through the scroll saw.
Yeah.
But I drew the line and was like, I'd like it to curve. Yeah. And then he'd be like, cool, well, here's a picture of a sports car, maybe a little different. And
was your dad an Eagle Scout? He could have been. He sounds like he has the material.
Well, it depends on who you ask and when you ask them. Because if you ask my father if he's an Eagle Scout, when my brother and I are young children, he didn't bat an eye and said, yes, I'm an Eagle Scout. And then my brother went to interview him when he was a Life Scout before Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you have to do is interview an Eagle Scout.
Really?
Yeah. And he said, I'd like to interview you as an Eagle Scout. And my dad just went, I wasn't an Eagle Scout. He just lied to us when we were kids to get us to stick with it.
Really?
Yeah. So he was not an Eagle Scout at all. And we like to give him a little crap for that. But he was a Scout. I think he went to Star, which is like 2 below Eagle, something like that. I can't really remember.
Is that interviewing an Eagle Scout? Is that a fairly new thing? Because we didn't have that when I was in Scouts.
So I don't believe it's a on paper requirement. I believe it was like something you should do that our Scoutmaster at the time pushed.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was like in the book you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because really to become Eagle, it's did you do everything beforehand? Do you have the merit badges? And did you do your Eagle Scout project? Right. Those are really like the things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering if there was that new requirement for interviewing. Yeah.
So, I tried to get involved
the Scoutmasters have some degree of leeway in as far as maybe just suggesting things. Even,
oh, yeah, absolutely. And I actually remember trying to get involved with a Durham troop, and it just, I don't know, it fell through. I'm trying to remember, and I can't. I just, like, I had an extra tent I wanted to give them. Yeah. I bought myself a new tent, and I was like, man, maybe they need a volunteer carpenter or something. And I just, I've always respected the Scouts and what they did for me as a youth. Like it was, I knowing how to, build a fire and filter some water and camp correctly. And
I learned all that stuff as an adult leader.
Right.
Because I wasn't in Scouts as a kid long enough to learn that. And so I was like, all the stuff that I missed in my childhood, I caught up with as a Scout leader.
So as a kid, you didn't do a lot of like camping and stuff?
No, I grew up in Manhattan.
Okay, camping. Yeah, not a lot of camping.
Camping in Central Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just took my girlfriend Jen to Manhattan for her first visit. Because I'm from New York myself.
Yeah.
But
is that the woman I met the other night?
Yeah, she came to the networking event.
Okay.
Yeah. She had never been to Manhattan.
Oh my God.
And so I was like, okay, in 36 hours, how do I give her like the best taste?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Natural History Museum. We're going to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We're going to catch a Yankee game. We're going to get a coffee in Little Italy. We're going to get Peking duck in Chinatown. We're going to walk across Central Park. We're going to go to the Brooklyn Bridge and take a picture. We're going to walk around Washington Square. We're going to get 4 slices of pizza when we're not hungry. And
covered. That's a good.
I tried. And we rode the subway a bunch. Like I tried to give her all of the, we took the train into Grand Central, because we're near Poughkeepsie's our stop where I live, about Highland.
Did you take the train down from Poughkeepsie?
Yeah. So Poughkeepsie's the last stop for Metro North. So $16 got us down there.
Yeah.
And then we stayed the night. And then the next day I met my mom and dad at Yankee Stadium. And then we drove up north after the game in their car because they drove in.
That's great.
So I tried to be like, okay, what's the best?
I think skip the Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty.
No. I was like, if you want to wait online, I will do it with you.
I was talking to somebody the other day. That's what they did. Their parents, their father took them to New York, and that's what they did. They waited online, and then it was just a disaster.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on those things.
Yeah.
But it's like Disney World looks cool when you look at 17 pictures, but those 17 pictures took 11 hours of standing in line to get. Was it worth it? I say no. You know,
Yeah.
I had a much better time of like us being in an empty subway, going to the Brooklyn Bridge stop, walking empty streets, taking that iconic picture, and then going up to Washington Square and getting in our hotel.
Yeah,
and
no, I think you made some good choices there. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to see, but you hit some pretty good spots there.
Yeah, and then the food places were iconic for me because like my mom is from 2nd Avenue and between 10th and 11th, near like St. Mark's, Lower East Side. So going in with her into the city, she always took me to, you know, we'd always hit some of the same spots. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the Velseca, which is like a really nice breakfast Polish Ukrainian spot.
Oh, okay.
On the 2nd Avenue. And like 2nd Avenue Deli is obviously pretty world famous, and, you know, getting Ray's Pizza is, you know, iconic, and just, you know, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, it's just part of the deal. But I mean, of course, we didn't do anything Broadway related. We didn't see shows. You know, we didn't go to the Comedy Cellar. We didn't go to
New York is still there.
It is. Yeah, calling my name. We were there for 2 weeks, but we spent most of it up in the countryside at my, you know, swimming in my parents' pool.
Yeah.
That was more relaxing. And then we did go to Cooperstown, which we had, you know, we live and die by baseball in my family. So
same here.
So yeah, we went up there. She had never been there.
I like your Yankee logo over there, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I got the Yankee and Ranger coasters were given by the same person. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I like hockey as well. Not as much as baseball, but it's fun.
What do they say? Baseball is life.
Baseball is life.
Right?
It's true. Yeah. My favorite quote is, or in the baseball realm, my favorite quote is, how could you not be romantic about baseball? It's so romantic. It's from the movie Moneyball, about the Oakland A's.
Yep.
And
I saw that movie. I don't remember that quote though.
It's at the end after they lose, when his assistant is making him watch video of the super fat minor leaguer who trips rounding first but didn't realize he hit a home run, and then he trots around realizing he hit a home run, and he's like, it's a metaphor. He's like, I know it's a metaphor. He says, how could you not be romantic about baseball? And he walks out of the room, and I just, you know,
That's funny.
It is very easy to get romantic about baseball.
I tell you a little story.
Absolutely. Tell me a few of them.
I went to a Yankee game July 4th, 1983.
Okay.
Doesn't ring a bell.
I wasn't born, so no.
Jeez.
I'm born in 91.
Everything has to go into perspective here. I can see that.
Maybe I've seen the highlight if it's that famous.
Dave Rigetti.
I know the name, yes.
Okay, that was the day that he pitched no-hitter.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, I would not know the date, but of course I know that Rigetti pitched a perfect game.
Well, it wasn't a perfect game.
Or a no-hitter. Excuse me.
Anyway, I went there with my girlfriend at the time, and she was a Red Sox fan, and that's who the Yankees were playing, the Red Sox. They no-hit them.
Always a big game.
And so after the game, everybody was just going crazy, and I was jumping up and down and acting like a 12-year-old when I was in my 30s. And I looked over, and she was a Red Sox fan. I looked over, and she's sitting in her seat, looking as glum as can be, you know?
Holding back the tears.
Yeah. That relation. I'm still friends with her, but we moved on. Both of us moved on.
Because you couldn't work it out. Two different sports franchises.
It's never going to work.
It's true. My pops, he teaches a lot in Boston for Berklee School of Music.
Oh, okay.
And in part of his fee structure is Fenway Park Red Sox tickets. That's how much he loves baseball.
Your dad?
Yeah, he'll make them be like, no, I don't need as much money, but I want the seats. I want to go to that game after I'm done teaching. I want to walk out of the classroom, because you could walk from Berklee School of Music to Fenway Park.
Yeah.
And he loves baseball that much. And I remember
So does he commute from New York to Boston to teach?
No. Okay. Well, a little bit about my pops. He's a niche architect that focuses on recording studios. And like that's what he does. He's in that realm of recording studio design. He's actually like the number one guy in the world. So he will teach a class that's like half on Zoom, and he'll like go to Berkeley every other week, but he'll do it like just one semester. Like he's not a full-time teacher by any means where he has to be in Boston 3 days a week. This is like a huge thing. It's kind of like the passion I have for my podcast. He loves recording studio design that much. He loves teaching it. He gets to teach in rooms that he designed for Berkeley because he redesigned their recording studio teaching facilities for recording studio design, which is like a major and a class that you can take.
Really?
Yeah. You don't just have to be, I mean, you do have to be a musician to go to Berkeley School of Music.
Yeah.
But it's not just people practicing guitar. You know, if you want to learn how to be a recording engineer, you go to Berkeley School of Music and learn how to record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be the guy on the other side of the glass, messing with the knobs.
I actually lived in that neighborhood for a couple of months.
Oh, well, you've walked by my dad's work forever.
Well, he wasn't born yet.
Okay. Well, he's 75. He may have been born.
But the one thing that I remember was on like Friday and Saturday night, the entire neighborhood would be filled with students practicing their instruments.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And it's incredible.
It was great.
It's a great vibe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just open the windows, and there was just all kind of music coming from every direction. It was great.
It's a fun area of Boston where you could literally be at Berkeley School of Music and walk 5 minutes and be at Fenway Park. And it's just a great
well, at that time, that the Berkeley School area was not the best part of Boston. In fact, I took my son back there years later, and I was shocked at how it had transformed, because when I lived there, it was like kind of a slum and kind of dangerous, and that's like where all the drugs were and all that stuff. But it got better.
Yeah, it's progressed quite a bit.
Yeah. I when I took my son there, I didn't recognize the place. I said, I think this is where our building was, but it's torn down.
Who put all these Starbucks here?
Yeah. So your father's responsible for it.
For anything that sounds good. Yeah, that was him for sure. Cool. I remember one time we went to Fenway, and he got us like a, inside the park tour, and we walked on the field before batting practice. And I'm wearing my Yankee hat. I
was just going to ask you that.
We weren't even playing the Yankees, too. It was I was a Boston fan that night, but it was Boston versus I don't remember, not the Yankees. But I'm wearing the Yankee hat, and I've got it. I'm standing behind home plate on the field, facing the field, and my hat's on backwards, so all the people behind home plate can see the. Hey, Yankee! Hey, what are you doing on the field? Get off the field! Like, constant. Yeah. Constant.
I would never wear my Yankee hat to Fenway. No way. I don't even wear I lived in Portland, Maine for many years. I would never even wear, I would sometimes, but it wasn't worth the hassle, because Portland is a Red Sox town.
Yeah.
And, there's Yankee fans everywhere.
Yes.
But you always, even if nobody says anything, you always get this feeling that people are looking at you and trying to figure out a way to make your day miserable,
But you got to represent. I see you in the Boston hat here, though. It's like, what are we doing?
It's comfortable, and it covers my bandage.
I'm just playing with it. You wear whatever hat you want. I rock a Durham Bulls hat a lot, because that's good around here.
That was my choice today, Durham Bulls or this one.
Yeah. I love being around those Bulls. That is quality baseball.
We went to a game a couple of months ago. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It's difficult to explain to people how actually good not for like people who understand the game and the minor league systems, but for people who don't understand, it's like you are watching pros. Like the roster expands halfway through the season, and half the dudes you're seeing play for Durham go up and play for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Like you are not watching some guys trying to make it. Some of them are, but most of those dudes are like, you're a real guy on this team, and we just waiting for the roster to expand per the rules for the playoff push.
Yeah.
Or the minute somebody twists an ankle for a week, you're going up.
Yeah.
So you can really see some number one first-class baseball, or any professional who's injured, that's where they're rehabbing. So you see some real, quality guys come in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's not like going to some, college game where you're going to watch a lot of errors. Like, it's real good baseball. It's a good product.
Yeah. My wife is not a baseball fan at all, and she was most interested in the bat dog. That was everything to her. She wanted to know everything about. She wanted to know everything about the bat dog, what his name was, how that got to be, the whole thing. Couldn't care less about the baseball game.
Yeah. Well, that's why the Bulls are more fun than a pro game, because the Bulls have a goofy thing between every inning.
Yeah.
And like, oh, by the way, there's a baseball game. But really, it's like 2.5 hours of family fun.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate all that stuff.
I don't hate it, but I think I know what you really mean, is it gets in the way of your baseball.
Yeah. I would rather it be nice and quiet and just wait for the players to come back, but that's not the way the world works. So.
No, but I do think that I agree. I would prefer nothing, but I do think they do a nice job.
Oh yeah,
of making it a lot of fun.
The kids are playing musical chairs.
It takes 1 minute for them to do this thing.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. And it's very popular. Yeah.
So I'm curious, as somebody who's been a fan of baseball, obviously just more years than me, what are your thoughts on the new pitch clock and time thing going on?
Well, it seems to be popular, so we'll go with that.
Well, what are your thoughts, forgetting about the general popularity?
Okay, here's what I like: listening to games on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if the game could last forever, that would be the ideal. But I keep hearing these announcers complaining about the games being too long. And to me, it's like no game could ever be long enough. I mean, I want it to keep going and going and going and going, and that's not feasible. So I don't really care one way or another. If it makes it better somehow and it makes it more workable, they have to do it, because I mean, the alternative is not everybody's like me. People want to go to a game, let it last for a couple hours, and then do something else. That's what the market is.
I like your note, though, that you touched on about the radio announcer, because some people, you obviously know and I obviously know, but some people don't know that they're different announcers. The TV and radio guys are not the same people.
Yeah.
Because the TV guys get to be quiet and allow you to watch.
Yeah.
Whereas the radio guys, if they're quiet, you hear nothing.
Right.
So they have to fill the space. That requires a separate skill.
Yep.
That requires the ability to be like, so we're in the middle of a story that's going to take 25 minutes, and the pitch, okay, and back to that story, and he rips a double, and back to that story, where on TV you get to go, okay.
Yeah.
Crack! And you see it, and he's like, oh, and he's running down the second. And then, and look at this replay. Oh, and they're going to show this again. Oh, it was a slider. And it's like a completely different animal.
Yeah.
And
it's like me sitting here shaking my head yes.
Versus saying yes.
Right?
Yeah. Nobody sees you nodding.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean, because I spent more of my childhood than I can remember listening to games on the radio with my dad.
Yeah.
And listening to John Sterling of the Yankees.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as too long a game. But now as an adult watching, let's call it modern baseball, I am a fan of getting the same amount of action in 40 less minutes. It seems more exciting to see the same amount of hits and the same amount of diving plays.
Yeah.
Just take same number of stuff. It just literally takes less minutes. I didn't lose the diving play. We didn't take out an inning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I still get 20 hits over 9 innings, but it took 40 less minutes.
Right.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. Well, you see, here's the thing. When I'm listening to a baseball game, I'm usually working.
Mm-hmm.
And I could work for 2 or 3 hours and have the game on in the background. And when the game is done, I wouldn't be able to tell you what the score was, who won, who played even, because I don't listen to any of it. I don't know how to describe it.
It's kind of like your music while you're working. It's just in the background.
Yeah, it's background, and I'm interested in it. And at some level, I know what's going on, but not really. I'm more focused on what I'm doing outside of that. So,
what a perfect segue for me to ask you, what do you do for work?
Aha, here we go. Here's where we sell the goods.
Yeah, let's go.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a cartoonist. Woo.
Which is, you're the first cartoonist I've met.
Well, I was, when I said to you, when we were texting last night, and I said, should we prepare something for this podcast? And you said, not at all.
Definitely not. No,
and
we don't prepare.
Wow, this is my cup of tea.
Oh, yeah.
Just jump right in and
exactly.
Do it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, the podcast is born of, because you were asking me a little bit before we got on air. The podcast is born purely out of my love and passion for construction, home ownership, lumber, the fresh of the smell of freshly cut cedar. It's those types of things that made me want to do this. And of course, my mother telling me since I was 1 year old that I belonged on stage, like an actor. She was like, you should be an actor or a lawyer. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do either one of those things. And now at 33, I started a podcast because I got to use the voice for something. But
you're getting there.
I'm getting there. Yeah. Oh, I'll be number 2 behind Rogan in a couple of years.
Behind, who needs that?
Well, I love it so
much.
That's
what I was thinking about the last 24 hours was, okay, I'm going to go on a podcast where they talk about construction. And what am I going to talk about?
Yeah, because I think I gave you my card, and you gave me like a side hug, and you were like, "Oh, if I wasn't a renter and I had the budget, I'd have you follow me around and fix stuff that I love to look at."
Absolutely, yeah.
And I was like, "Hey,
okay, all right, let's get into construction here."
Yeah. Have you ever owned a home?
Oh yeah, I've owned homes.
Okay, well,
I've actually worked in different levels of construction at different times.
See, you got more to talk about than you even realize.
Oh, no, I got plenty to talk about, but it's just from a different angle than somebody who's an expert in construction. I'm like the anti-expert in construction, which can be amusing, I think.
It's more than amusing because the average person listening is not a construction expert. The average person listening is a homeowner who needs homeowner perspective.
Who needs to be told that they're not alone in their frustration.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think that becoming what you are, like a construction person, do you think that's more a matter of training, or do you think anybody can be trained to be, say, a carpenter or a...
I mean, oh, wow, that's a good question. So I guess it depends on the trade, but my answer is, I think yes, but some things require less training and more of an apprenticeship. Like a Finnish carpenter, a really good Finnish carpenter.
Yeah.
It's not that it couldn't be done. To the listener who wants to argue. Not that it couldn't be done. It's hard to go on YouTube and just see how to install really nice crown molding and then just go do it.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas if you were with, I got trained how to do pretty much everything I know from a 70-year-old guy in California who was like, I need an extra set of hands. Here's $25 an hour cash under the table, and you're going to be my dude. And I was his guy. We put in kitchens and bathrooms and baseboard, and I absorbed everything I could from him like a sponge. And I'm the son of an architect surrounded by architectural drawings. I'm a son of an interior designer. They work together. I grew up in a home that was a small cabin, and then an extension got built, and I watched it get built. I helped the guys build it as a little kid. They'd be like, hey, my son wants to hammer in a couple nails. Do you mind? Oh, of course not. Ding, ding. And the next thing you know, I was useful and could do stuff. And so for me, it was like monkey see, monkey do, monkey observe, all of it. But, you know, that doesn't mean that you couldn't have no experience and go take a 6-week HVAC class and then go get a job installing HVAC systems. So I think there's avenues to doing it. As for being a GC, because I kind of wear a lot of hats. You know, I'm a trained carpenter. I make custom furniture. I'm a licensed general contractor. All of the on-site construction knowledge hurt me when I tried to get my license. It actually was a negative.
Why is that?
Because getting your GC license is about how well you can read a book, memorize the facts, and regurgitate it on a multiple choice test. And the terminology that I use on a job site is slang, and the terminology in the book is different. So I could go walk onto a job site and have a conversation with my framer and use this term and that term and the third term, and we both know exactly what we're talking about, and we do it correctly, and the job is complete. But the terms that him and I used are an option to try to trick you on the multiple choice test. It's very confusing. It has an 80% failure rate the first time you take the exam.
Huh.
Yeah. So if you wanted to specifically if you want a person with no construction knowledge and you wanted to get your GC license, you'd actually have an easier time doing it. Because you don't have any of those real life terms. Just get the book, read the book, regurgitate the book. It'd be like studying for school.
So is being a general contractor, is that more like a supervisory job rather than a skill job?
It's babysitting.
To some degree.
No, until it's babysitting. I'm babysitting a bunch of subcontractors who all think they're the most important subcontractor. Yeah. And how well you can organize stuff and keep track of stuff.
Yeah. That's a big part of it. Right?
That's a huge part of it. But also that's
Eagle Scout.
Yeah. It's just a matter of not overextending yourself. You know, don't take on 10 jobs if you can't handle 5, you know. So but really you're just babysitting the problems and scheduling. You know, there's always a problem. Somebody broke their foot. Someone had a baby. Someone had a vacation they didn't tell you about. You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or one of the trades pissed off the other trade. That's always fun. It's like, hey guys, back off. Like, stop it. Both you go home. Like, you know, or you got to use one sub over the other, and they both do the same thing because one sub gave you too high a price, and you're like, hey man, you know, you were twice the price. I'm not going to hire you for the exact same work. Then they get mad at you. They don't want, I'm not working for you anymore. And then they need work and they come back to you. That literally happened 2 months ago. Yeah. Sheetrocker of mine was like, I've always done this great work. I drove by and you were using a different sheetrocker. I was like, well, he charged me $4,800. You gave me a bill for $9,800. Yeah. I'm not going to pay $4,000 extra for the same shit. Now we're working together again because he gives me the appropriate pricing. But he got mad at me like it was my fault. He gave me almost a double the price number. It's not my fault. That's why I got more than one guy.
Why did he do that? Do you think he was just saw an opportunity to make
I think he got too comfortable working for me, how well we worked together, you know. There were times when speed was such a priority where I wouldn't even get a number. I'd be like, go there, fix that right now, send me a bill. And I'd get the bill and I'd be like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But this was like, hey, here's the drawings, here's the framed house, come price the sheetrock.
Yeah.
And for no explanation, it was too high. You know, and I think he just...
Did you ask for an explanation?
So I did not. And I was insulted by the price.
Yeah.
If let's say that I got the one price for $4,800 and instead of $9,200 whatever, it was $5,500.
Right.
That we have a conversation and a pleasant one even. I go, hey man, you know, I got this for $49.
Yeah.
You're at $55. Let's meet at the middle. Can we do $52?
Yeah.
Because for $400, Felix saves me headaches. but he doesn't save me $4,000 worth of headaches.
Yeah.
So there was just like a little bit of a difference there.
Have that same exact kind of job. You have a record of doing that kind of job, so you know what ballpark is supposed to be in, right?
Yeah. Well, so for me specifically, yes, because I've been doing relatively the same project for the last 10 years where my family and I, we buy a house, we gut a house, we make it brand new, and then we put it up for rent. We have 10 rental homes. And this was like another one of those of a similar size, of a similar type of project. So even when you compensate for a 15% increase in price of all products across the board due to coronavirus and shipping, it still was too high.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, man, I felt insulted that it was borderline double. And I felt like he was just taking advantage of me. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this other guy.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming has come to his senses because we did a successful job last week together, and I'll continue to let him price stuff, you know.
Did the other guy work out?
The other guy worked out, but the thing with Felix that I love is he's my sheetrocker and my painter.
Yeah.
So with the other guy, sheetrock, no paint.
Yeah.
So when there was an issue, I would have to call the painter, and he'd be like, "Oh, you need your sheetrocker to do that." And then I'd call the sheetrocker, and he would like, you know, it just became a little bit of a hassle to get some of the imperfections perfected.
Yeah.
Whereas if I simply have to call Felix, he's paint and sheetrock.
Yeah.
So no matter what, it doesn't matter if the painter screwed up or the sheetrock screwed up. If it's one guy, fix it.
Yeah.
So there's an example where the extra $500 is worth it in spades because the removal of headache is. But again, it wasn't worth $4,500.
Yeah. Interesting.
So there's things like that, you know, and then, you know, there's also knowing different products, you know. Him and another, he's also a roofer for me, Felix. So he does three trades for me and does good work.
Wow.
I'm shouting him out here for a reason. I like Felix. But, you know, one time he gave a number that was like insane. We thought was insanely high for a roof.
Yeah.
Turns out the other roofer was pricing a different product.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait a minute. That wasn't apples to apples.
Yeah.
That was apples to mangoes.
Yeah.
And that's not the same. Mangoes aren't in season. I'm just making a joke, but like, so you really got to pay attention to the details.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's basically what GC does. We just manage all that crap. You know, but I'm not a designer.
You're not a designer.
No. So like, if you want me to build you a house, I'm not drawing your house. You got to get it drawn by a professional. You know,
not me.
No, you don't. You can draw.
No, you don't want me to draw the house. I've always said, if you try to build a house that I've drawn, you could never do it.
It's not possible.
No.
Are you a Frank Lloyd Wright descendant?
No. It's not possible because it's not based on any kind of architectural structure. It's just sort of whimsy, I guess you'd call it.
Does it float or something?
Yeah, it would just fall down.
You build a house with no nails?
Yeah, you could do that. You could build it out of, you know, turkey feathers if you want to.
Hey, Japanese joinery used no nails for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Stuff's gorgeous.
Yeah, but it's still standing.
Some would say better than some Western American structures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my drawings would not stand up.
Yeah.
They're better off lying down on paper. Yeah, if you look at them, just leave them there.
How long have you been a cartoonist?
Well, the first time I recognized that I had any kind of talent for it was, I remember almost to the moment, it was like, I think in second or third grade, which was a long time ago.
It's yesterday.
And they used to celebrate Washington's birthday and Lincoln's birthday separately. on their actual birthdays. It was no the 3-day holiday stuff, right? So the teacher had us draw pictures of Abraham Lincoln. And I drew a picture of Abraham Lincoln, and turned out I could draw it better than the other kids. So I'm like, I'm an artist, And that's the first time I remember even recognizing that I had something there. And then I started just scribbling in my notebooks, and then I start doing, I like doing sports cartoons early on. The Mets and the Yankees and the Dodgers and all that stuff. And then I remember my father saying to me something like, "You're a cartoonist," or "You're going to be a cartoonist." And I thought, okay. And I kind of took him at his word. And so I went to, I grew up in New York City, and I went to a vocational high school called the High School of Art and Design, where I was a cartooning major.
My mom went to High School of Music and Art.
Okay.
So
yeah,
similar thing. Next door.
Yeah. And
in Manhattan, no less.
My teacher, he's going to be 99 years old this year. I'm going to go up. We're going to have a little party for him.
That's cool.
If he makes it. He's got another few months
Knock
to go.
on wood.
Yeah. But brilliant guy, and had a lot of influence on me. I didn't really do very well in school at that level. I did better early on, but by the time I was 14 or 15, I kind of lost interest in school, I guess, or paying attention to anybody. And but I've kept in contact with him over the years, off and on, and he's had a lot of influence on me. And we had our 50th high school reunion a couple of years ago, and I was really surprised at how few of the students actually went on to become any kind of artists. There are, most of them use art in their life, but no, I had maybe a dozen kids in the cartooning class with me, and I figured, okay, we'll all become cartoonists.
Right.
As far as I know, maybe one other guy became a cartoonist, or maybe one or two. Other than that, I don't know, people, but we were very young, we're 14, 15, 16 years old. That's kind of young to be making a decision about what you want to do with the rest of your life.
Oh, it's moronic, but that's a whole nother conversation that we assume 16 to 18-year-old kids can just figure that out.
Yeah.
That's a different topic.
Well, maybe. But I went to school for it. Then I goofed around for a few years, and then I finally decided when I was in my early 20s that I said, okay, I sort of did an inventory of what I was good at, what I was bad at, and what had any prospects at all for being successful. And at that time, and it's totally changed, I think, the whole publishing business has totally changed. But at that time, I thought there was a possibility I could become rich and famous as a cartoonist. And there was enough markets in place, which immediately after I decided to become a cartoonist, they changed everything. All the markets changed, everything, the price structure, everything changed. And so I and I think this might be similar in any profession. You kind of have to adjust yourself to what's out there. You take your basic skills and you see what's out there, and you see how you can market them. And that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing now. I'm in Chapel Hill. This is where we sell stuff here. Ready for a commercial?
Let's go. Brought to you by
Chapel Hill Cartoon Map.
There you
If
go.
You like my card? You got my card.
I got your card. Yeah. I'll take a picture of it for the Instagram post. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So so obviously this isn't what you've been doing your whole life because you're in the middle of this current project. But the current project that you're working on is you're doing a cartoon style like street map, not street map, but like an oversized view map of the city of Chapel Hill.
Yeah, you kind of have to see it to fully understand it, especially if you're not visual, which some people aren't. But it's a cartoon rendition of mostly downtown Chapel Hill in the style of artwork that I've developed over the years.
And where is it going to go?
Well, we usually have about 100 businesses on the poster, and I draw their usually brick and mortar businesses. We also, on this one, we're going to have like a business card size advertising drawn in cartoon style also for any businesses that don't have a physical location.
Like a food truck or something like that?
Anything, you know, insurance agency or lawyers or whatever, funeral parlor if you want. And then we're going to print 5,000 of them. Each of the advertisers on it receives 30 copies of the poster to either give away to their customers or to sell if they want. And it's been interesting in talking to some of the people in retail in Chapel Hill. I suggested to them you could sell these for $5 each, and you could actually make money because the cost to be on the map is $125. And this one woman who runs or manages.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. What's $105?
Okay. In order for your business to be represented on the map, like I draw a picture of your building.
The sponsorship for the companies is $105 a company. $125, excuse me. $125 a company to be involved in this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
I just wasn't sure what you were saying. Okay, so
it's good that you clarified.
if I'm Joe's funeral parlor and I want my thing to be drawn, it costs me $125.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
So then you get, like I'm saying, 30 copies of the poster.
Right.
So I'm saying to this woman, you could sell them for $5 each. You could make, how much is 5 times 30? $150.
Right.
She said,
you make $25.
We'd sell them for $20 each. And I haven't done one of these in about 20 years. And so my whole financial observation is basically outdated, you know. And Chapel Hill being a college town, there's a ready market for this kind of thing, you know. Rather than, you know, if it wasn't a college town, it's a totally different thing.
How big of a poster are we talking?
I think we're going to, usually I've been doing over the years 22 by 28.
Oh, okay. So it's a little bit smaller than like a movie theater poster. It's like half that.
Well, this one I think I'm going to do 24 by 36, which is a little bigger.
Okay.
But
it's like a flag, 2 by 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good size.
Yeah. And the reason I'm doing it, I talked to one printer. I haven't really actually totally decided on a printer yet. So it's kind of a gamble to set the price before you get a price from the printer. But the printers that I've talked to have given me a ballpark that's going to work. But this one printer told me that it's actually cheaper to print the 24 by 36 because it's a standard size. And I'm thinking, why didn't somebody tell me that 30 years ago, you know?
Right. So does like, you know, one get nicely framed and hung in the city council office or something?
Wherever, yeah.
So who's at the top of this? Like who contacted you and said, we want a thing of Chapel Hill?
God.
Oh, so you started this.
I'm the man, yeah.
So you went to these businesses and said, I'm going to draw this if you want your thing on it?
Yeah.
So you're getting the $125 from all the businesses.
Yep.
And you're basically, for $125, you're selling them 30 posters, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are not charging enough.
Well, probably not.
You should be charging $250 to $500, and those people should be charging, you know, here's a poster for $30. I mean, this is a hand-drawn, stunning artwork.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. And
and there should be two options. You want it rolled up in a cardboard tube, it's $19.99. You want it framed and matted, it's $300. I mean, that's
You're hired.
I'll do it for free, man. Let's do it. You give me a woodworking customer. That's how we help each other out. Yeah. That's why we go to that networking event. Just
Oh, absolutely.
There's enough of there's pie for everybody. How do we all eat it?
Yeah.
No,
so it's encouraging.
But I assumed that incorrectly, I might add. I assumed that, like, I don't know, Jane from the city council of Chapel Hill found you and was like, we'd love to do this art project. This is just you.
It has worked that way at different times. In this particular case, I haven't gone to UNC yet. I'm going to go to them because of, obviously, they're most of the town.
When you do Durham, I want to be one of the sponsors.
Okay.
I mean, I'm in already. I'll give you the $250 and help you find some other sponsors.
Price is going up by the minute here.
Let's do it. Absolutely. And I want to get one framed and put it up here. Well, and then I'll sell the rest. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to UNC, see what level of involvement, if any, they want. If they're not interested at all, I have to represent. I have to say UNC is here, even if it's only a little puppet holding a flag saying UNC. But maybe they'll say, okay, give us a little square section, and we'll give you $500 or $1,000, whatever we decide on. But UNC will be part of it one way or another. But it's mostly really to promote the individual small businesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
UNC doesning need help with advertising.
No. Yeah. Nobody needs me. But.
And you could do tiers too. Like, for $125, you get a little square this big around the border with all the other squares. Yeah. For $250, you get a square twice as big, or it's in 2 locations. We put the square around, there's a border of squares, and then we put you on the map, 2 spot or something. Right. And you could have levels of sponsorship.
Yeah.
Black and white or color.
There's all different ways to do it. This is, over the years, this is how I've done it, and it works. The numbers work. I make more doing this than I could do anything else. So I'm happy with it. I work a few months and I make some money, and it's good. It's good money, good enough for me. Maybe I'll see at the end. And
I want to put you in touch with my merch guy, because he probably has a printer for you too. I don't know if he's cheaper, but
if you
get it priced 3 times, see what's up.
Well, it's weird. I've never had so much trouble getting a printer before.
Oh well, you haven't.
Which is weird because
now you know me. The trouble's gonna go away. I got people.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you the phone number. I'll give you Glenn's number after this.
The closest I've gotten to having a printer yet, I was in FedEx getting some photocopies the other day, and I'm talking to the guy, and I'm telling him what I'm doing, and I'm saying, I'm having trouble finding somebody who can print this size, and he points to himself. He says, we can do that. And I said, FedEx? And he said, yeah. So, I talked to him, and he scoped the whole thing out, gave me a price and everything. The only problem is their printer is in New Jersey, which I've had some great printers in New Jersey, but I feel like I have to be closer to the end product when I see it, because I've had some posters that were printed and I wasn't really happy with the quality of them. But it's
also, like, morally, you're doing a project for local businesses.
Yeah.
Let's find a local printer.
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody.
There's got to be somebody.
At least
but if
in
there
North
isn't,
Carolina.
Got to go to New Jersey.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like, it makes me nervous to have this guy, printing 5,000 copies in New Jersey and sending to me. And then I look at them and say, that's not very good,
I know for a fact the printer's local because it's in the store, but there's it's like FedEx, UPS, and DHL share one. It's called like fax, print, ship. But they work with all of them, but they have printers in there. It's like on 9th Street in Durham. It's like right there on the corner. They have huge, they can print you architectural drawings, like huge printers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like they might not have the paper in stock day one, but I know it's a local, they'll print it there. So they could print you one and you could look at it and go approved, and then they could print you 500 or whatever you need.
Yeah.
So we could find you a local.
Well, if you could find somebody, that'd be great.
Or at least
I talked to one guy and just had the sense he had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
He gave me a price of, I think, $23 per poster. And I'm like, wait a minute, if we print 5,000, how much is that? Like $125,000.
You can't sell them for $5 a pop anymore. Wait a minute.
Price is going up fast.
Yeah. It's going real fast. Yeah. This went from 125 to $3,000. Yeah.
At its core, that's the same kind of issues that you're dealing with in your business.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Talking about totally different products, totally different business, totally different profession, but the same basic logistics, I guess.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
And everything, like the best example I have is before COVID, you need an interior door. You give me the money, I give it to Talbert's Building Supply. It arrives in a truck in 3 days.
Yeah.
Now, 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Same door, and it's $45 more.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. And there's nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is it might actually show up in 5 days. But every supplier is going to be like, it's so crazy, we've got to tell you 4 to 6 weeks. And if it gets here early, yay.
Yeah.
Because everybody's happy when stuff's early. But everybody gets real mad if you say 5 days and it takes 10. Everybody gets real pissed. So you got to give everybody the long amount, and then it gets here early.
Yeah.
And then, my plumber, he no longer has trouble finding stuff, but everything's 20% more. And I mean everything. Every little brass fitting, every little PEX clip, every little thing in the plumbing store, 20% more. So he's got to look at me and go, we did this house for you for $7,000. We can do the same house for $7,000 plus the 20% markup of or plus the 20% more. Because literally it's the same size house, same amount of bathrooms. He knows it's the same amount of work, crawl space, about the same height. He can go, I can't charge you the same amount. If I do the exact same work for the exact same money, I've got to eat the 20%. So I got to look him in the eye and go, you got to charge me 20% more. I mean, my plumber can't lose his shirt. So it's just 20% more for me to operate. It sucks.
That's another thing that's making me nervous about the printer business is the quotes that I've gotten so far are actually in the same ballpark or even cheaper than they were 25 years ago. And I'm like,
maybe printer technology?
I don't know.
25 years is a lot of years.
Yeah.
A lot of tech changes in 25 years. I mean, that printer's 6 years old and it's out of date.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one answer.
Ink has changed, paper's changed, printers changed, especially when you're doing a bulk run.
What I've heard over the years, everything that I've heard over the years is how much more expensive paper is and how much more expensive everything is. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's not that. I don't know. I have some questions yet that's why I'm a little trying to pay attention to what I'm hearing from different people.
So where are you in this process? Do you have all of the $125 sponsors?
No.
Okay, so you're still in the gathering
very early.
Okay, so you haven't started drawing.
What's that?
You haven't started drawing.
Oh God, no.
Okay.
No. I drew a layout just to teach myself geography. I wrote down all the businesses on Franklin Street, up and down Franklin Street, and a few roads leading out of town. Just penciled everything, and then just started going around one by one, talking to each business that I've documented that's there. I know what's there. I've signed up about a dozen businesses so far.
Okay, just by walking in and saying, "I'm doing this. You interested?"
Yeah, that's the way I'm going to do it the whole way. That's incredible. The only way to do it. I'm finding actually it's interesting. With the last time I did one of these maps, there was almost no internet. There was no social media. Almost nobody had email, and this was in 1999, 2000. And so I'm finding now it's almost like it's more complicated to do something like this because you have that whole extra layer of those things that I just mentioned to you that you have to deal with. You have to have a website. You have to have email. You have to do Facebook and all that stuff. And so I guess the benefit of it is people, like if I go to you and say, this is what I'm doing, and I've heard this in the past, people say, how do you know if I give you a $50 deposit that I'm ever going to see you again? I can say, well, if you can't find me, then you got a problem, because I'm all over, Facebook, all kinds. You just Google Ed King cartoons. It's like my world, life history there.
Yeah, Ed King cartoons, King, everybody.
There's another.
It's a big thing for me too, because if you go to, a month ago when my social medias were not organized, and you go to CRS Contracting on Facebook, there's no pictures, and it looks like I'm a fraud. Because I was posting.
I was
posting them on the wrong Facebook.
I did that. I think there's a CRS Contracting in Michigan or someplace.
Oh, there's right? One in Atlanta too, or Georgia somewhere. Yeah. But if you go to my CRS Contracting Durham, there's now a pile of pictures and my license number, my real license number, that anybody listening, and you may not know, you can take that license number and go to the North Carolina Licensing Bureau website and type it in, where it will then say this license number is active, green, no open cases, no closed cases for that matter, because I've never had any cases.
Yeah.
And it'll say, and this belongs to Corbett Storick. And you can verify that I am, in fact, a real licensed with the state contractor with an active, clean license.
Yeah.
But I tell you right now, nobody's ever done that. And I'm not talking about with me personally. I'm telling you, nobody who's researched a contractor has ever checked out their license online, because I guarantee you that would save a lot of hassle. Because if you Googled John Doe Construction and found out they have 7 open cases that they're fighting because clients sent the licensing board complaints and was like, look, this dude stole from me or didn't do it right or whatever, you wouldn't hire that guy.
Right.
If you looked up a skydiving company and half their people died, you'd go, we're not going to go with this company.
Right.
But nobody does that. Nobody takes the time to go beyond a social media page or the word of mouth of whoever gave you the number, because word of mouth weighs a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Word of mouth is a lot.
Yeah.
And also, when have you ever heard this? Where, you're at a restaurant and you're at a table with your wife or whatever, and you're overhearing the table next to you. When have you ever heard this conversation? Hey, I hired a contractor and everything went great and it was under budget and finished in the allotted time and everything was beautiful and I'm so happy. Who tells that story? No. What's a more interesting story? Even though it sucks to be the person going through it, the more interesting story is, oh my God, this contractor, he was late and he was dirty and he screwed up this and he screwed up that. And then I had to get this person and that person and whatever. And that's a more entertaining story. Yeah. Nurses talk about the blood and gore, not doing paperwork. Yeah. That's more interesting. So you've never overheard, like, I had a perfect contractor who did it right. Oh, you never overhear that. You always have to ask somebody, hey, do you know a contractor? Yeah. And then they'll tell you, oh, I had this experience with this guy or this guy. But you never overheard the tape, the example of the table next to you in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Telling you that conversation. It's never happened. You always hear the crappy ones.
It doesn't happen, right?
Yeah. You always hear the crappy conversations. And that's a huge downfall / stereotype of being a general contractor.
You know what they say. You know what Shakespeare said.
I don't.
First thing we do, kill all the contractors. Right? Oh, wait a minute.
Who's going to build the stuff? Yeah. Kill all the lawyers. That makes more sense. Yeah. Except for Kevin. Kevin, I love you. We like you.
Never heard anybody say,
stay my closing attorney.
Kill all the cartoonists.
No.
Right?
No, in fact,
love our cartoonists.
We cherish them, yeah. Do you ever work on any comic books? Famous ones I might know?
Books, yeah. I have, yeah.
I got a whole Iron Man and Captain America tattoo here.
You have an Iron Man tattoo?
Oh, yeah, a whole shit right here, yeah. big sleeve.
Want to show it to me?
Yeah, I'll start whip it out after the podcast. Yeah.
Whoa, after the podcast.
Yeah. Did you ever work on Jack Kirby's comics?
No, he was a little before my time, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything with Stan Lee? These are the biggest names I know in comic
no, a little
worlds.
Before my time too.
Okay.
But I guess, it's my connection to comics. I worked as a letterer.
A letterer, like drawing the like pow. Yeah. Drawing the pow.
Yep.
So somebody drew the shot.
Somebody else drew the picture. I just put in the lettering.
Okay, so you drew like the speech bubble and the word.
Yeah.
Color or no? So the colorist is a different person?
Colorist, yeah. It's set up the same way as general contracting. You got the letterer, the artist, the penciler, the inker, the colorer, the whole thing. It's like everybody gets a different job.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Why do you think that there isn't just a dude to draw the whole thing?
Some guys did.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think initially, and this too was before my time, this was early on in comics, when comics were actually for kids. They're not for kids anymore.
No, yeah, yeah.
But they set it up that way because it was more efficient. Because comics, unlike most other art businesses, depended on speed and production. So in order to produce a comic book, the fastest way to do it was to set it up the way it got set up. That's my understanding. And so that's the way they did it. But there are guys who can, I never understood. I don't consider myself a great draftsman. I can draw somewhat, but I could never make a living as an illustrator because I can't draw well enough. That's why I got to sort of evolve my own style of cartooning, which works.
Right.
But it's not classic illustration. I never understood how some of these guys who, like you mentioned, Jack Kirby and the more famous guys, why they didn't do their own lettering. Because to me, if you can draw some fantastic stuff, you should be able to do your own lettering.
Yeah, I agree. That seems like an easier part compared to the muscle fiber punching some, Robin getting hit by the bad guy and Batman swooping in.
But I didn't argue with them. This guy hired me to do lettering. I go, yeah, I could do that. And then
was there ever like I don't know if I'm using the right word, but like a resentment, like I'm doing lettering. I could do more. I could do better. I can do more. This is not what I dreamt of paying the bills with just drawing POW.
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, there are guys who are, I wasn't really a career letterer. There are guys who made their living fully as letterers. I did relatively little lettering and as far as the lettering profession goes. Like I said, there are guys who are known as letterers, and they do like, actually that whole thing has been mechanized. There are no letterers anymore. It's all computer.
Yeah, it's all Photoshop now.
Well, I don't even know how
Adobe
they do,
or whatever program
I don't even know how they do it anymore. But there are no guys that sit down drawing letters. It's all on computer. But I did a couple of different projects. I worked on some series. I worked on some special comics. But I didn't spend 8 hours a day doing comic books. I was doing other stuff like whatever.
Any like big name comics we might know?
Well, actually, yes. Funny you should ask. I lived in a little town in northeast Pennsylvania, not too far from where you grew up, across the border of the Delaware River. You know where Narrowsburg is?
Narrowsburg does not ring a bell.
Okay.
But my brother went to Bucknell in Lewisburg, so I probably drove through it to get there from where I lived in upstate New York.
From there. But if you go right west from where you grew up, you'll hit the Delaware River.
Yeah.
And then you go across there and you'll be in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, right. I know how close I was to PA for sure.
Okay. So right in the northeast corner of Pennsylvania, a little town called Honesdale. So I moved there when I was 23, and that's when I decided I should really focus on becoming a cartoonist, right? So I got involved with a couple of other artists, and we had a little studio in town. And one day this guy walks in. We had an open house on a Friday night. So this guy walks in, he introduces himself, and he tells me that by this time I was like 30 years old. I've been actually getting some work and doing some stuff, but I didn't feel like I'd hit the big time. I never did. To this day, I haven't hit the big time.
We're going to get you there. It's that Durham map that we're going to do.
Days.
Yeah.
But he introduced himself. He said he was going to start drawing the Star Wars comic strip. And he wondered if I would be interested in doing the lettering. And he had seen my lettering on a local restaurant menu. Mm-hmm. That this restaurant in town was owned by my best friend, and I did all of his menu designs, and lettering was a big part of it, of course. And so I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding? Star Wars? Of course I want to do that.
The Mecca. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the guy's name was Al Williamson. In the comic book business, he's very well known. He's kind of legendary. I'd heard about him, and I knew that he lived in the town, and that was that was the only reason he came to me, because we lived in the same town. My lettering was sufficient. It wasn't, lettering, it's not that big a deal, I don't think, But anyway, so he started. This was in December. It was around Christmas time. And he was going to start the strip in, I think, February we started. So he wanted me, there were certain things that I had to learn as far as a couple of different tools that you use as far as getting the spacing right and the lines straight and all that stuff. He did his own balloons, so I didn't have to worry about doing the balloons. And so by February, I was pretty ready to jump in and start doing it. So that was my introduction to the comic book world. And from there, he did a couple of movie adaptations. He did Return of the Jedi. He did Return of the Jedi just before I started working with him. And then, he did Return of the Jedi. That was the book that I worked on. That was the first Star Wars book that I worked on. And then he had done the previous one, which was
A New Hope.
No, it was way before that. It was like the second movie. After Star Wars, then was another.
Well, you get Star Wars A New Hope, then you get isn't the second one The Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah.
And the third one is Return of the Jedi?
That's right, yeah. So yeah. I worked on
I might have them messed up. I'm a fan, but I might have the titles messed up.
No, you got it right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The second one, I couldn't remember the name.
That's Empire Strikes Back. And then the third one is Return of the Jedi, where Luke is now in like the black leather and the robot hand, and he's all trained.
So I did the lettering for Return of the Jedi, and then he also got contracted to do Blade Runner.
Oh, okay. That's no small thing.
Yeah, so I did the lettering for that. And then he worked with a couple of independent comics, Pacific Comics, and I forget a couple of other pretty minor stuff. And then he was about 20 years older than me, so he was getting toward the point in his career where he said he couldn't make a living anymore drawing because he was just too slow.
Okay.
So he became an inker, which was almost, he could do it in his sleep,
Yeah, if you're going from drawing to inking,
it's
like a coloring book.
Yeah.
It's black, it's lines, and you put in the color, literally, right?
Almost like that, yeah.
Almost, okay.
But anyway, so he got me hooked up with different things. And I did some stuff for Marvel and DC and, like Superman and I don't know, a couple other things. But
what's better, Marvel or DC? Putting you on the spot.
I don't know. I mean, I never really fit into the comic book scene.
To be honest, me neither. I think Marvel has won the movie game. I think DC still has better stories and comics.
Well, it was a real revelation to me. And I met my first wife through comic books, by the way.
Oh,
That's
cool.
a whole nother story. But it was a real revelation to me how devoted some comic book fans are. There are people, and it was, first I had kind of admired their knowledge. They're people, that's like their whole life. They know every comic that comes out. They know all the plots from the last 50 years. They know who drew what, who penciled what. I've talked to different people. Oh, I love your lettering. I'm like, I did this lettering like 40 years ago.
How do you even know who I am?
Yeah. And it's very weird. Al, like I said, he's very big. He's kind of legendary in comics. And I'll get into conversations sometimes, like on Facebook. There's different Facebook pages for Al Williamson, and it's kind of weird. They're like people talking about things that happened 40 years ago that I was actually part of. And it's like,
how do you know?
Like, if I knew then that people would still be talking about this stuff, I wonder if I would have like taken notes so I could write a book or something.
I think in a word, it just boils down to passion. Like you and I can have a detailed baseball conversation that somebody else is like, are they talking English?
Yeah.
Whereas two other people can talk about who lettered their favorite comic, and you and I would be like, how do you know the author, let alone the drawer, let alone the letterer? It's just I can do it about Marvel movies, hence the tattoo. I have a whole sleeve. That's abnormal. The tattoo artist had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
She was literally like, I've never even seen a Marvel movie. I don't even know who Groot is. I have Groot on my arm. She's like, I don't know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
Groot
well, he's
the Wanderer?
Cool. Yeah.
Really?
Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
From where?
Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, you're going to see in a minute.
Okay. I'm looking forward.
He's the tree guy from Guardians of the Galaxy.
His name is Groot
with a T.
Oh, C. Crew.
No, Groot. Groot. Groot.
Oh, with a T at the end.
Yeah.
Groot. Are you familiar with Groot the Wanderer?
No, I'm familiar with Gru from Despicable Me. That's funny, but I don't know Gru the Wanderer. Is that a comic?
Yeah.
No, I don't know that one. No. I'm going to Google it later, though.
Do you know Sergio Aragones?
Oh, my God. That name sounds familiar, but I don't honestly think I do.
You ever read Mad Magazine?
Yes.
Okay. Sergio Aragones is the guy who drew those little things around the borders, like tiny little drawings of people running around doing wacky things.
Right.
And that's where Groot the Wanderer originated.
Okay.
Those little scribbles around those.
Yeah, I would not have picked that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Groot. That's who I thought you had
Very
on your
different. Yeah. Very different.
Very different.
Yeah. Or maybe the exact same, and I have no idea, but I don't think so.
I'll let you know.
Groot's an alien plant person thing that can move and talk and
sounds different.
Sounds a little different.
Groot.
Yeah. Well, okay. So for listeners, how do they find you? It's edkingcartoon.com.
No,
that's just on Facebook.
Well, if you Google Ed King cartoons, a whole bunch of different things will come up.
Okay.
About
how do listeners find you to hire you?
You can find me somewhere there, anywhere there. But also, we have a website for the Chapel Hill cartoon map.
Okay, what's that website?
That website is chapelhillcartoonmap.com.
Okay, so if anybody's in Chapel Hill and listening to this, you want to hit that website and you want to give my boy $125 to get on that map.
And you could actually make money at it.
Yeah, but honestly, if you broke even, it would still be worth it. The average, there's a perspective that's probably being missed by some people, that if you get, for $125, you get 30 copies of a poster that you could sell just for enough money to make the $125, and it would still be an amazing thing. And frame one, put it in your office, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity from a local artist who lives here. I mean, there's more at play than just how to make some money.
Oh yeah.
But yes, if you want to sell them for $20 a pop, you'll make some money.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I did a map in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware years ago. And somebody just a few months ago I think it was on Facebook, they sent me a picture of a framed copy of the map that I did 30 years ago that they bought at an antique shop. I'm like, whoa.
So before we end, I have one question for you. Do you think it might be important for you to make sure that all the businesses sell them for the same price, whatever that price may be? Just because if it's the exact same copy of the same thing, wouldn't a consumer be very pissed they paid $20 from Joe's law firm for one, and then they walked into Jesse's funeral parlor and they were $4.99?
Yeah.
It's just a thought that literally just popped into my head. No,
you have to think about everything.
You might have to require that being a part of this means they can't be sold for more than X amount per copy. Might be part of the rules and regulations of being involved.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get a sense of it. Okay, and I'm heading towards saying, okay, so and so are going to be selling them for $20 each. So that's probably a good idea to sell them for $20 each. Really, you can do anything you want with them. You can give them away if you want, which I think most people will probably. I mean, most of the businesses on it aren't real, like, retailers of that kind of item.
Right, so you can't even sell that. It'd be weird to try.
Like if you have a funeral parlor, you can't set up a poster sale on the side.
That's weird. Yeah,
I have a funny story about funeral parlors, by the way. I did a map in the town I lived in Honesdale, and a good friend of mine ran one of the funeral parlors, and his funeral parlor happened to be like right around the corner from the hospital, right? So of course he was going to be on the map, and I had signed up the hospital to be on the map, and what he wanted me to do was, in the drawing, put a conveyor belt going from the back of the hospital to the back of the funeral parlor,
and then from there to the cemetery.
I didn't even think of that. You're more enterprising than I am.
Paint it yellow. Yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Oh man, did you do it?
It's a great idea, and it's really funny. But I don't know that the hospital would pay off the balance if I ever did that.
Oh my God, that's so good. I like that though. That's funny. Well, I know we didn't talk a whole lot about construction, but I don't care. This was a lot of fun. I really thank you so much for coming on.
I want to come back. I want to talk about my career in construction. I've worked in.
I'm not just saying roofing. I would love to have you come back.
Worked in roofing, and I built picnic tables. We could talk about that. From a different perspective, totally different perspective than you're used to.
Consider this your introductory post, and now we're going to do a second segue in a week or two, whenever you want. Come back, we'll do a whole construction-focused one.
If you get a lot of cards and letters, as Johnny Carson used to say, keep those cards and letters coming in. If you get a lot of response saying, hey, that Ed King, he was a jerk.
I guarantee you that's not going to happen.
That's happened to me too. I'm sure that's happened to you.
You have no idea, honestly, as a New Yorker who's tall and abnormally big and abnormally loud naturally, to come to the South. There has been lots of times when I've just been how do we get this done for you? And they think I'm being the rudest person on the planet. And it's just a slight dialect like no one's trying to be rude. But I've softened in the 10 years I've been down here. But when I first, there was like a lot of like, why are you so hostile and aggressive? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just a New Yorker. And if you don't fix that window, your house is going to rot bad. So like, you might want to put some new trim or hire me.
New Yorkers understand each other, but nobody else understands.
Yeah. And I'm not from the city, but I have parents that are, and we went into the city enough. And again, I'm big and I'm loud, and it's something I had to soften. I was
raised in the city, but I never fit. I would have fit much better if I had been born and raised here.
You fooled me until you told me you were from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your demeanor at the networking event. Yeah.
I love it down here. I'm blown away by how friendly the people are here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like over the top. You know, it's like, can I tell you one more story?
Absolutely.
A few months ago, I got gas in the car, and then I pulled over to check my tires, which I don't know anything about that either, checking tires. I'm like, I haven't had a car in 10 years. I have a car now, right? And like, that's all changed, right? So anyway, I'm there trying to figure out how to check my tires, and this guy drives by in a pickup truck, and he rolls down the window. Well, he didn't roll it down. He pressed the button, and the window went down, you know? So he says, you forgot to put your gas cap back on. And I said, oh, thanks a lot. And I'm joking. I said, you know anything about checking tires? And he goes, yeah. So he pulls his truck off to the side. He goes in the store. He gets one of those gauges for checking tires, and he comes out, and he checks all my tires for me. And I'm like, this is amazing. You know, it's like, I can't believe I landed in such a great place. So I get into a conversation with him, and I say, hey, what do you do? You know, and he goes, he says, I'm in graphic design, illustration type stuff. And I go, what's that? You know, it's kind of vague. You know, he says, I'm a cartoonist. You're shitting me. Oh, excuse me.
You could swear, it's fine.
This guy is a pretty well-known cartoonist in Chapel Hill. His name is Josh Taylor. And I've seen his work. It's nice stuff, you know. So we haven't gotten together yet, but we're going to get together. But, boy, talk about small town, you know.
Right.
Of all the people to meet, it's like the other cartoonists. There's probably 100 of them out there. But
yeah, it's, in the city, no one would have even stopped. No one would have seen you. You would have been like a homeless person, just blur, and they would have kept driving. Up where I lived, people would have stopped. Because I'm from like a dead-end farm, country road type of town in upstate New York. But I guess it's all...
First of all, nobody in the city has a car anyway, so you be on the subway.
Yeah, that's true. But yet the city's full of cars.
Yeah.
Guess it's town cars.
Where do they all come from?
Cabs.
It's a mystery.
Richer people.
Where all those cars come from?
Wealthier people.
Really?
I would guess.
In Queens?
You know, I don't know. When I think of all the cars in Manhattan, I usually think of like the Wall Street guy who's being driven to his job, or just some very wealthy person who lives in a huge, penthouse where that building has a garage, or cab drivers, Uber drivers. Like, I don't know how many of the people physically driving the car in Manhattan live in Manhattan. I feel like none of them. I feel like if you can afford the car in Manhattan, you can afford the driver. But I don't know.
I don't know. Great mysteries.
Yeah.
One of the great mysteries of Manhattan.
Like Aaron Judge for the Yankees in his $26 million penthouse, that probably has a parking spot. And he probably has some nice, sports car. But I doubt he drives to Yankee Stadium. He probably gets picked up in a blacked out Escalade. He sits in the back seat and somebody drives him. Yeah. He gets driven to the game up to the Bronx. I would assume, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Where's his penthouse?
Manhattan somewhere. I don't remember. Somewhere,
Probably my
Central Park West or something. I saw the picture of it on Instagram, the outside of it, and I was just like, oh, okay, that figures. And then I saw the inside of it, and I was like, that also figures.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and comes with a pool and all of this. And I was like, you know what? Aaron Judge at,
he's earned it.
$29 million a year contract. Good for you. Spend the money. Keep the economy going.
Yeah, he's got to be worth it.
Yeah. If he ever gets uninjured, hopefully he'll be worth it. But on that note, let's watch a Yankee game this evening as they try to take 2 out of 3 from Colorado. Yeah. So before we end, once again, the Chapel Hill Cartoon Map website is again
chapelhillcartoonmap.com.
Okay, and Ed King Cartoonist. If we Google that or Facebook that, we'll find you. Do you have a direct website?
If you Google Ed King, you get this guitar player from 50 years ago.
Who's not you.
But if you Google Ed King cartoons, I kind of dominate the field.
Do you have a direct website? You're the Aaron Judge of cartoons.
Without the $26 million penthouse in New York.
We're going to get you there. Do you have a direct website?
I do, but I don't really use it that much.
Okay.
It's one of those complicated.
It's not edking.com.
Names that you can never remember.
Do you have an Instagram?
I do.
Is it just Ed King Cartoons?
Pretty much.
Okay, cool. So you can find him on all your socials.
A bunch of Instagrams. I've got Twitter. I've got, what else is there?
I mean, I just, I saw your folder.
TikTok. I have a TikTok account.
Oh, man. Okay. Well,
I think I did a dance video on TikTok.
Were you holding a cartoon picture?
I wasn't, but you'd like it. I'll send it to you.
Shoot it over.
It's, I won't tell you about it. I'll send it to you.
I don't have the app, but I'm sure it'll open on Instagram or something. Okay. Well, because I saw your binder, I like your work, and if somebody needs a menu drawn or something they may have not thought to hire a cartoonist for, you are capable.
That's the way it works.
Want the work, I assume.
You know, if you need a carpenter, don't call me.
Yeah, call me. Yeah,
call that guy over there.
And on that note, Corb the Carpenter on Instagram, the Orange Hammer Podcast on Instagram, the Orange Hammer Podcast on YouTube. Let's see, CRS Contracting on Facebook and Instagram. And, email me, call me if you need work or want to come on the podcast or want me to talk about something specific. And Ed, just thanks so much for coming, man. I really appreciate it. We'll do that second episode soon.
That was fun.
Awesome.
Had a great time.
I'm glad. All right. Appreciate y'all listening. Bye, everybody.